Hey guys, this is Tamer from F the Track for our next vlog. Next vlog here, and this is going to be a hard one for me to do, but I'm going to do it here, you guys. We're going to do the 3 things that I hate about my Lexus ISF, and this kills me to say basically here because I do love this car so much. You know, like any other car, you guys, there's certain things that are going to bug you, no matter what you drive. I don't give a damn. You drive a Rolls Royce, regardless. There is no perfect car out there on earth. So number one, I'd say the first thing that drives me crazy about this car would have to be the gas tank. What's wrong with the gas tank? The gas tank is the size of a fucking thimble, okay? I don't know, maybe it's just the gas tank, basically the size alone, or just the size alone mixed with my my fuel economy. But you know, this thing goes through gas, man, like crazy, and I don't mind. I don't give a shit, basically. That doesn't bother me one bit. But what bothers me is that I'm always at the gas station like every 4 days, every 4.5 days, 4.5 days, if I'm lucky 5, basically. But and I'm still doing a lot of open highway. I can only imagine some of the guys are doing straight up, city, like non-stop with this thing. It probably it probably goes through gas every 3 days, or fills the tank or needs to be filled up every 3 days. So yeah, it goes through gas pretty quick. But then I feel like when you mix a small gas tank with that, it's just annoying. I feel like I'm always at the goddamn gas station. It is what it is, basically here. Number 2, the second thing that I don't like about my ISF, it's a very, very minor thing, but I feel like I think like most factory tuned car, you guys, factory tuned cars are generally going to be kind of like the lower end stuff. Not all of them, basically, but this one is. It's an entry-level Lexus, okay? It's an IS. That's the base Lexus. That's the cheapest one. And then they went to town on it, basically, here, okay? So it's still basically based on their entry-level car. So you have certain, we'll call it just certain things that'll kind of buzz, little things with the interior. Like, I know I'm complaining too, probably a little bit more likely, you guys, because I had a Lexus LS 460, so I had their top dog luxury car before. So obviously maximum refinement, every little surface is refined and everything is padded. Whereas in this car, let's say some of the interior materials, the quality is not as good as, let's say, a car like the LS. So, example, you go to grab the door handle. Hey, I trim my nails, okay? My nails aren't long. Just any little touch of the nail to the steering wheel by accident, or your fingernail on the door panel, and fuck it, you're gonna leave a permanent mark, man. So that gets kind of annoying. The LS was not like that. The stuff that had the little softer touch, and it took that kind of abuse a little bit better. Also, too, just little NVH issues, basically. I mean, again, little vibrations and little rattles and stuff like that. Not so much when the thing was stock, but again, you throw an exhaust on it, yeah, and it comes out of that NVH range, and then it starts to kind of buzz a little bit more, basically here. So I think kind of my biggest issue or niggle, basically, with that is when I start my car in the morning, because I have the exhaust, and I can only imagine what it would be like if I had the full, aftermarket headers and that kind of thing. I get this little buzzing in the ceiling back here, basically. It lasts maybe 10-15 seconds, literally until the car just kind of slightly warms up and it drops at 200 RPM and it just stops. I do have a friend who used to have an ISF, and he had headers on his. And I remember as soon as he had his headers installed, he said he had all kinds of buzzing, like in the steering wheel and in the console, or excuse me, in the bottom of the dash, little stuff like that. So again, you guys, it is based on a second generation IS platform, and it is the entry level Lexus. So I mean, I'm sure it's the same thing as the M3. Again, it's the entry level BMW. So you might have little issues like that, basically. Again, we're reaching here, you guys. The third thing, you guys, as you can probably see, headroom. Okay, it's a small car. I'm a big guy. I didn't have very many options, basically. As a guy and I am a Lexus guy. I'm a big time Lexus guy. So as a Lexus, fan guy or fanboy, and I wanted to stick with Lexus, and I wanted to go buy myself a performance car, and I purchased my car in 2014. There wasn't anything. There wasn't anything, from Lexus, basically, that was trackable. So this was it. So I went, and you should have seen the fucking salesman and myself too at the dealership lot, and I'm sitting there scratching my head going, and I'm sitting there driving this huge, beautiful white Lexus LS 460, and it was on 22-inch wheels. It was like riding on a cloud, this huge powder puff. And then I get into this fucking thing, and I'm like, God damn, this thing is really small. It's really tight. The seats are holding you. I'm like literally, probably 3/4 of an inch from the ceiling. But man, as soon as I started the car and I heard that motor, and I remember leaving the parking parking lot and I went over a speed bump. And I remember when I came down off the speed bump and I felt that kind of like that complete lack of compliance, which I fucking loved. I was like, oh my god. The only car I ever felt like that, or drove that ever felt like that, was a Porsche Turbo. And I remember literally just leaving the driveway of the dealership, literally just coming down off the lip of the curb that was that big, and I just felt the thing like, I mean, it literally felt like we were on a brick. And I was like, oh, this fucking thing is the real deal. So I felt the same way about the ISF when I first drove it, especially after driving a Lexus LS 460 for 3.5 years, you guys. You can imagine basically going from their softest, biggest car to literally probably at the time is their hardest, fastest, you know, their sportiest vehicle, basically. So I fell in love with it. But yeah, it's definitely not a big car. So me, I'm 6'5", about 290 pounds. So I look more like an NFL football player than your average probably Lexus driver, basically. Here, I'm a pretty big guy. So again, I literally will hit bumps in this thing, and my head will smack the ceiling. Not hard, but it will get to the point where I can feel it. I've just gotten used to it. When I'm on track, I do wear a helmet. I know a lot of people go, how the fuck does this guy fit in the car with a helmet? Yeah, guess what, guys? I just duck. I duck, and I put my head down like this, and I use my paddles basically and go for it. I have been known kind of slightly also just tilt my head a little bit too, so it sits in here. So it is what it is, you guys. If anything, give me more props, because I should get more props, because I'm out there fucking sandwiched in a tuna can, and I'm out there tracking this thing and representing Lexus as much as I can, man. But anyways, yeah, so size is an issue basically, or if you are a bigger driver. And again, I'm 6'5", you guys, I'm pretty big, so not the biggest car. Also, the back seat, obviously, I mean, it's not, you're not going to fit any normal sized human being back there, especially if you have a full size driver like myself in the car. There's no way. If you have a quadriplegic friend or something like that, or somebody who has no legs, I mean, go for it. My son, who's let me see, he's 4.5, excuse me, just turned 5. He fits behind me when we go out as a family, and this thing, as rare as it is, but we do use it as a family car, and it's kind of fun when we do it, but it generally do take our van. But if we do, again, the wife's here, my daughter's behind her, because my daughter's a little bit bigger than my son, and then my 5-year-old son can fit behind me as a full-time driver, full-size driver, but again, he has to do what we call the crisscross applesauce, so his legs are crossed in the seat, because they can't hang over the edge. So again, not a, I wish it was a little bit bigger. So I'm glad, glad to see that Lexus did develop the GSF. God willing, maybe down the line I'll own one of those. That would be the only car that would get me out of this thing, basically, or to get me to trade this car in down the line. I can't afford one of those right now. I think they're fucking 90 grand. Although I am seeing them go for the high 60s, so you're getting basically 20 grand off, 19 grand off right now. I don't think they're selling very well. I don't think it's a big surprise, basically, you guys. I mean, at least when the ISF came out, the ISF was competitive. It had more power than the fucking M3, which was the benchmark. And it also had what is 25% more torque than the M3, whereas the GSF is not selling well. It's got no power. I know it's well balanced. It's got the torque vectoring differential, that kind of thing, but it just doesn't do it. So again, back to it. Basically, room is an issue. I'm glad they did produce the GSF, at least for down the line, for F owners or F fans. We want to get something a little bit more full size. There will be something, basically, we don't have to shoehorn ourselves. I've gotten used to it, you guys. My legs are fine. Headroom is not an issue until you meet the ceiling, to be totally honest. So it doesn't really bother me, to be honest. I will admit, at certain intersections, I do have to kind of lean forward if they're really small intersections, so I can see the stoplight. But again, that's pretty rare stuff. Anyways, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the vlog here. As much as it pained me to make, basically, the 3 things that I don't like about my Lexus ISF. You guys take care, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.